You know, every semester, media production students walk into my classroom with so much excitement, so much ambition, and the same 5 blind spots. And if you're learning media production, filmmaking, or content creation on your own, you probably have these same blind spots as well. And let me tell you something, it's not your fault. Most tutorials skip steps. Most creators online focus on hacks and quick tips instead of actual fundamentals. And what I find is that beginners end up confused, overwhelmed, and frustrated when their videos don't look the way that they expected them to. But once you understand these 5 ideas, truly understand them, filmmaking starts to make sense. Your camera choices, they make sense. Your lighting, those choices make sense. Your color and audio decisions, all of these things suddenly become intentional instead of accidental. So instead of watching you fight the same battles that my students do every semester, let's fix the misunderstandings that hold most beginners back. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand the 5 foundational concepts that separate frustrated beginners from confident creators. And you'll finally understand the why behind the tools that you're using. Let's start with the biggest one. Exposure is a relationship, not a setting. The first big struggle is exposure. And the problem is simple. Most beginners think that exposure is a single setting. They look for that one button that makes the image brighter or darker. But exposure isn't actually just a setting. It's a relationship between shutter speed, aperture, ISO, and the actual light in your environment. Every choice you make affects every other choice. If you open up your aperture, you're not just brightening the image, you're changing your depth of field. If you raise your ISO, you're not just fixing a dark shot, you're adding noise. If you adjust shutter speed, you're not just controlling brightness, you're affecting motion. Exposure is a negotiation. You don't fix it, you balance it based on the purpose of your shot. You start by setting your shutter speed to double your frame rate. Then you select the base ISO of the camera or the lowest ISO setting available to you. Remember that ISO can be called gain on some cameras as well. Finally, you use aperture to dial in the correct exposure and depth of field. If your exposure is incorrect or your depth of field is not what you want it to be, you can introduce ND filters to perhaps limit too much light, or you can increase the intensity of your lighting for the scene that you are capturing, and then you set your aperture again. So the next time you're frustrated with your exposure, instead of asking, what setting do I change? Ask, how do I correct the exposure with the settings and the lighting that is available to me? Light quality matters more than light quantity. The second struggle begins the moment someone buys or rents their first LED panel. Beginners love bright lights. The brighter the better. But cinematic lighting has almost nothing to do with how bright your light is. It's about the quality of your light, soft or hard, shaped or uncontrolled, directional or flat. A cheap light bounced off a wall will almost always look better than an expensive light that is blasted straight into someone's face. So instead of asking, how powerful is this light? Start asking yourself, what is the motivation for the light? Meaning, where is the light coming from? How soft or hard is the light? And what shape does it create on my character's face? Master light quality, and your images improve instantly without buying anything new. White balance is storytelling, not math. The third concept always surprises people: white balance. Beginners tend to treat white balance like a technical chore, something to get approximately right, and then they move on. But white balance is storytelling. Warm tones feel intimate, nostalgic, and comforting. Cool tones feel distant, isolating, clinical. Your camera has no idea what emotional tone you want. Auto white balance guesses, and it often guesses completely wrong. When your white balance shifts mid-shot, when you're using that auto white balance setting, it screams beginner. Choosing white balance is choosing emotion. And once you see it that way, your footage stops looking accidental and starts looking intentional. Audio is the first thing that breaks your project. Okay, so number 4 is something I've seen ruin more student projects than anything else. That's audio. Audio is the first thing that breaks a project. A viewer is going to forgive soft focus or even awkward lighting, but they will not forgive bad audio. Beginners often rely on camera mics, or they place their microphone far away, and they hope that EQ is going to fix it. But audio doesn't work that way. Good sound is 90% mic placement and 10% gear. If your mic is too close, you win. If your mic is far away, you lose, no matter what microphone you own. So before you buy more equipment, ask yourself a simple question. Is my microphone actually close enough to my subject? That one fix will change everything. Story structure matters more than gear. The final struggle, and the one beginners almost always underestimate, is story structure. You can have the best camera, the best lighting, the cleanest audio, but if your story is unclear, nothing else will save that project. Beginners often think a sequence of pretty shots equals a story. But stories aren't built from clips and pretty shots. They're built from intention, conflict, and meaning. This is why I teach story structure, not just techniques. The tools matter, but they matter in service of a creative goal. And even if you only remember one thing from this entire video, remember this. Gear makes images, but the story you are actually telling makes the project. So if these concepts feel confusing to you, that's normal. Every beginner that I've ever taught, that I've ever engaged with, struggles with them at first. But the moment that you understand these ideas, filmmaking, content creation, media production shifts from guessing to choosing, from reacting to creating, from confusion to clarity. Okay, so tell me in the comments which concept you want a full deep dive on next. Your questions genuinely shape the lessons that I want to make here on the channel. And if exposure was one of the concepts that kind of finally clicked for you today, start with the first video in my exposure series, which I'll link here. It breaks the whole idea down with clarity and with purpose. I hope to see you there.